meeting, meditation, solitude. A bench can be a space for all this. For Al, alias Anne-Sophie Lapinroux, a bench is a useful tool for when we are going a little bit too fast, rushing in our own routines, forgetting that, sometimes, we should just stop and look at what surrounds us. Life, nature, love. A bench is the perfect spot from where to observe the other, namely the person at our side and the life that flows in front of us, because nothing lasts forever, and we should not waste any opportunity to understand and cherish what we have around us.
Arlette de Levalle, a story of lines and ropes. A rope used as a noose, a rope to bring down the curtain on trees, a rope to dangle from. The series A Story of Lines and Ropes illustrates the use of lines and ropes inserted in human context, described in the playful, irreverent, and colorful way of the French artist Arlette de Levalle. The figures are wearing nothing but their bird suit. They are monochrome and made of surreal colors. The backgrounds are undefined, so the human forms can stand out even better.
Fabio Belloni is a very interesting example of how reality can be readable in different ways. He is an artist who uses photography to underline the naked structure of buildings or landscapes, and so of reality without any ornamentation, just using cold colors and particular filters. So, the subjects chosen by Fabio Belloni are often abandoned places, representing the difficulties of reality.
Bette Weber artwork acquires the main tools established by the modern avant-garde of surrealism in order to realize a visual investigation concerned to the psychological and subconscious dynamics involved in our everyday interactions. As we can see if we carefully analyze the artwork, the eyes curses literally plan the composition dynamism, as they were anarchic cells running away from the closed eyelids of the almost outlined visage. It feels like they were shooting around the space, quickly crossing over forms and colors and collecting nothing but a vague trace, the impression of a figure. The amazing thing about Observer by Bette Weber is the sense of urgency it provides, combined to the deep symbolical meaning assigned to the figures and to the expressive use of colors which is employed in order to exalt the contrast between different parts of the composition. The visage, numbly subdued to the eye's control, the background overwhelmed by the strength of the red tone, and the eyes itself building an invisible cage which actually trap the figures in.
Basically inspired by famous contemporary characters, Brigitte Yoakum realizes real portraits with an interesting photographic point of view. The creation of her works can be divided into steps: the preparation of the background, which is cast in a not completely controlled way, as is evident from the color drips on her canvases, and the realization of the drawing, precise, careful, and exclusively limited to the contour lines. The importance given to the drawing technique can be identified precisely in the distinctive traits of her characters. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, the hair, and the outline of the face are given by sharp brushstrokes. The contour lines are superimposed to the background, upsetting it simultaneously inside them. In this sense, there's a clear similarity with the most famous serigraph of Andy Warhol. However, if in this case the background is flat, characterized by a single hue, in Brigitte it's multicolored. The Austrian artist created backgrounds that become an integral part of the faces, describing the temperament, telling their personality. Warm and cool colors are mixed to define melancholy, joy, boldness. Therefore, the background can be interpreted as the set of colors of her character's soul.
Catalan Malley, Connemara Morning. Connemara is a savage beauty, as Oscar Wilde put it. Catalan Malley uses acrylics and oils to describe mostly landscapes of the west of Ireland, especially the magic Connemara. Through the depiction of natural views, his naturalistic style is expressive and touching. The combination of colors and harmonious and researched drawing led us to an immediate aesthetic satisfaction. This work gives us immediately a sense of balance and inner peace due to the extremely calming light blue and green color that infuses freshness. While looking at this artwork, the morning breeze embraces you and you can reach the peace of mind.
Maria Claudino, Blue Blow. The still life in the representation of part is inanimate, in particular cut flowers and fruit that gain vases and containers of various shapes and materials, books, musical instruments, exotic curiosities. Claudino took inspiration from the Spanish still life, which makes its appearance in the mid-18th century. Until then, the genre of painting in question was indicated with the term that means static nature, silent. The 17th century was the golden age of still life, particularly in Northern Europe, but also in Italy and Spain. The strong demand of this kind of pictures, favored by particular socio-cultural factors that broaden the audience of potential users and buyers, involves a process of specialization with the identification of subgenres linked to the predominant content of the paintings and by specific names. The artist therefore specialized in production of still lifes that depict food, flowers, musical instruments, and a specific type takes the name of vanitas. The artist chose to paint 3 yellow lemons hanging by a blue strip. That color was chosen because Claudino was inspired by a specific period where that color had changed meaning. In the 18th, we witnessed the affirmation of blue that becomes the favorite color in Europe, contrary to the previous centuries where the dark blue was the upper classes, while the light blue was usually used by the folks.
Lo sfondo spoglio, incommensurabilmente vuoto, attraversato da una scossa elettrica visiva che riscuote lo spettatore dal suo stato di passivo torpore, è una delle caratteristiche fondamentali della produzione artistica di Damiano Conti Borbone. È evidente nella serie delle scritte provocatorie, così come si insinua nelle forme depurate della figura umana che spesso agisce da protagonista solitaria sulla scena. In Orizzonte, lo squarcio che dilania la composizione assume una connotazione fortemente visuale e irrompe nella scena con l'irruenza della lama di un coltello, traducendosi nella cesura netta che spezza l'incantesimo ovattato dello sfondo. Il senso di spaesamento che ne deriva non scaturisce dalla metodologia, che si attiene alla dinamica provocatoria che innerva tutta l'opera artistica di Conti Borbone. Il ribaltamento avviene piuttosto a livello concettuale, nella rappresentazione di un orizzonte che si allontana dalla propria definizione di confine tra la nostra percezione e l'oltre, per farsi squarcio, apertura verso una luce accecante, senso di aspettativa e di inquietudine. Di fatto l'orizzonte è qui inteso come risveglio, come il lento schiudersi di una palpebra assonnata nel momento in cui l'alba ne spezza il quieto riposo.
Part of the series Venetian Blue, Venetian Beauty is the transposition of the artist's alter ego on canvas, in a dreamlike ambience. In the foreground, the richly adorned woman is partly hidden by a mask and a cape, suggesting that even though she chooses to show us her most fascinating side, a part of it will stay a mystery for us. On the second layer of the painting, the Venetian lagoon is only outlined, and it is immersed in a sea of gold, slightly reminding us the Mount Olympus or the golden setting that we all imagine in our best dreams. Finally, the background again recalls our imagination. The blurred and discontinued lines, the uncolored space, ask us to use our fantasy and dreams to fill the gaps and to complete the scene, because, as in every dream, nothing is ever settled.
Nervy legs, tiny waist, tense arms, face in profile. The work is divided in half by the figure of the dancer that, occupying vertically the central part of the painting, acts as a pivot around which the entire composition develops. The left hand slides over the wide skirt, the right hand encircles the shoulder as if so, in a closing gesture. The presence of the dancer dominates not only physically but also emotionally. With her body and her thoughts, she creates the space around. Although she is self-absorbed, everything starts from her and from her ego. The perspective lines are deformed and the colors are synthesized according to her emotional tension. The purple and green, which she is composed, are simplified in the blue, symbol of dreamlike world, and the yellow, symbol of life, that stand in the background. The first dominates the second. The dancer finds, in her unconscious, the courage to face her fears and the determination to win. Through a masterful use of colors, Chris Harvey was able to give life to a composition emotionally touching and involving, facing the issue of the inner conflict, the real protagonist of this artwork. The dancer is there, exists, reflects. She is the master of space and time. The mark of her being there is visible in everything around. Chris expresses the importance of being in the world as thinking individuals, entering from a pictorial point of view in a philosophical and theoretical reflection that is grounded in the Cartesian cogito ergo sum and evolves in the existentialism of Martin Heidegger. The being there is life itself, is not in life. The deism, understood in its extreme possibility of being, is time itself, and is not in time.
Jane Gottlieb, Sitting Pretty. Gottlieb exalts the pop art updating to current days. Pop art rejects the expression of interiority and instincts, and looks instead to the outside world, to complex visual incentive that surrounds modern man, the so-called urban folklore. It's indeed an art open to the most popular forms of communications, comics, advertisements, paintings reproduced in series. In other words, pop art draws its subjects from the universe of everyday life, especially of American society, and bases in comprehensibility that those subjects are very well known and recognizable. Their representation of boogers, cars, comics soon turn into a commodity in the subject that is on the market, completely loathed to commercial logic. Nevertheless, the artists who have been part of this movement have had a revolutionary role in their production by introducing the use of non-traditional tools and means of painting, such as collage, photography, film, video, and music.
Matter clothes coagulating on the canvas, wisely manipulated by the direct intervention of the artist herself, make of the artwork an almost three-dimensional piece. Precious Mauritius, which represent a perfect example of a wide part of Calai's artistic production, spot a certain taste in experimenting different materials, melted together in quite a spontaneous and impulsive manner, as the alchemist mixes different substances in order to create something new. The subject visage is hazy and yet quite accurate in the way it transmits a certain impression. The artwork literally rises from the matter, as if it were always been hiding in its clumps, and all you need to do was take a very careful look behind the curtain. In the end, the pattern settled by the artist has to be followed in quite a boundless way, where the figurative side of the subject doesn't prevent the matter to express itself in an almost abstract way.
Melinda Bezerdi, graphic artist from Hungary, surprises us with her artworks, halfway between ephemeral and concrete. In Flower, the only apparently blurred lines are drawn continuously and without removing the tool from the paper. At a first sight, a colorful petalous shape emerged at the top of a delicate but steady stem. The wise use of the artistic means, mainly chalk and charcoal, let this perfectly confused silhouette rise from the white surface. Nevertheless, as very often happens in art, what we see is only the facade of something deeper. This flower, carefully drawn in a unique gesture, outlines the vague human soul, represented as a stylized human figure, whose spirals suggest a crescendo of emotion that ends in a vortex of sense.
A multitude of human and animal figures are melted in a unique being. Profiles, eyes, bodies, details are all united by an eye contact and trapped in a puzzle made of geometric shapes and colors. The central face is a sort of caricature of the human being. It seems almost a clown with his face marked by tears of despair. From here departs the vortex of figures, centrifugal and centripetal at the same time. It seems to be released by the central figure, but it returns with strength to it. The group is an extension of the central character, but it's also a kind of shield, which protects him from the rest of the world. It's a solid group that exceeds the spatial boundaries from the depths of the abyss to the height of the heavens. It's a whole that mocks the time limits, symbolized by the day and the night in the upper part of the composition. Since it doesn't simply describe a sum of individual parts, but a whole, a nature which transcends and unifies differences, conveying them into something superior, in a higher and complete essence. The concepts of sharing and connection between all living beings often recur in the work of Cinzia, who in the simplicity of shapes and colors is able to face issues of universal significance. The artist takes from universe itself a great spiritual force, an immense joy of living, thanks to the others and for the others, a vitality through which she can boldly say, never alone. Not always a defined shape is suitable to describe the contemporary world with the foolishness and the recklessness that characterize it. The works of Gloria Martinez Verse refuse the form, whether it belongs to realism or abstraction. It's a concept very close to the art movements developed after the Second World War, to the highlights of American abstract expressionism and the European informal, repressing both the realism and abstraction in an artistic new approach. Works without defined shapes, resulting from a creative process in progress and not the result of a pre-project. The importance of the gesture as a form of expression, the use of non-conventional materials applied to canvas. Regarding the last point, in particular you think of the materiality of the works of Jean Fautrier, made of three-dimensional glue clusters, or the art brut of Jean Dubuffet, who mixed the sand, art, straw to the whole painting. But if they created works related in human or animalistic shapes, Gloria exploits the power of the material to communicate her emotions in a totally abstract productions. Her personal style embraces the use of the most common materials found in nature, such as sand, stones, wood, up to the use of copper foil and graphite powder, which enrich her creations. The physicality of the world becomes part of abstraction depicted in the painting. The world becomes an extension of the canvas. The canvas is an extension of the world. Gloria's canvas should be considered as a meeting point between the artist's inner world and the tangible world.
Rikkeline Andreasen is a Danish artist who mainly works with oil on canvas. The subjects chosen by the artist are often linked to the topic of the relation between natural and human world. These two universes live together, but not always in peace. Animals are suffering for the environmental disaster produced by humans, and they are in a serious danger for their life. Ricklin tries to represent the interaction between these two worlds using soft colors, in contraposition with the weight of the matter. Two birds on a trash can is a perfect example of this artistic practice, where the nature represented by the birds live together with the environmental disaster of the human. Will they survive?
The intents on certain figures are perfectly defined with their fine details. The languid eyes are in direct communication with the viewer's gaze. The watercolor technique is favored for passion and tradition by the Taiwanese artist Maki Chen, who skillfully contrasts the precision and accuracy of the details of the characters with the improbability of the backgrounds, soft, lightweight, impalpable. Unlike ordinary and abstract backgrounds, which we are accustomed, which usually serve only as background in a visual or coloristic sense, in this case we are faced with something different, that has the wind intangibility and the texture of a cloud. Although they are completely abstract, the backgrounds are protagonists as much as the real protagonists. Really, they are decisive in placing the characters in their own dimension, which is not reality nor the dream. Maki describes in fact a third dimension, which can be identified in the phase that is halfway between the sleep and the awareness. It's the moment of the awaking, in which we understand that we are still dreaming, but at the same time we perceive the world around. Her style is exactly halfway between the representation of tangible reality and the delirious surrealist dream.
Ipung Purnomo, Papuan in Pattern 2. Ipung uses the caracal for his artworks. It has an ancient origins. Its use dates back to prehistoric times, the period during which the men used pieces of rubbed caracal on the walls, representing scenes of everyday life or animals. This material is obtained then from carbonized wood pieces. Today the carbon brushes are in the form of various instruments, ranging from stick to the pencil. As the caracal releases dust, the artist should keep the worksheet inclined to avoid the dust may spoil the artwork. Among the various techniques to be used to make caracal drawings are the hutch. The peculiarity of this technique is to build on the sheet a series of horizontal or cross lines to reproduce light and shade. A second technique is the gradient. The caracal is a material that simply with our fingertips we can fade out and obtain shades of grey immense. In addition to the fingers, the shades can also be realized with the smudged with handkerchiefs or with paint brushes. If you decide to use the brush, make sure that it's dry. The paper should be thick and rude to the techniques of the dry on wet or vice versa, so that the water does not tear the work.
There is no reason to worry. This is the title that Tatiana Rivero Sanz uses for the new 3 artworks exhibited in M.A.D.S gallery, and this is very interesting to understand what the artist wants to communicate. The 3 photos have the same subject, Tana while she is dancing in her studio. The artist shows how it can be easy to overcome difficulties with lightness. As usual, Tana creates a very delicate poem using images in combination with soft colors and shining subjects. Her camera becomes a pen writing with the light.
Tony Stukens, Folklore. Drawing and color are not separate at all. Insofar as you paint, you draw. The more color harmonizes, the more exact the drawing becomes. When the color gives richness, the form attains its fullness also. Paul Cézanne. A combination of vibrant colors and lines that gives the sense of movement and three-dimensionality. Folklore is an oil on canvas made of the combination of different colors that together find a balance without the need of an explanation and the comprehension of the meaning of the created shapes. You have just to look at this artwork and get carried away by emotions.
The social analysis, which represents the main feature of Wenyang Xu approaches to art, becomes even more sharp in Ant Family as she explores the social value of work through the disillusioned look of the cynic. The blue human figures, a recurring element in her production, form a line dramatically similar to our common understanding of evolution. Grotesque, rough, ancestral representation of human beings resigned to march in line, to drag the working tools as heavy chains they can't be released of, surrounded by a blurred and disturbing background. The evocative strength of Xu analysis lies in the extreme simpleness of the composition, broken down in its primary components in order to provide a very specific image, an ant family, terribly similar to human beings, dragging themselves around the space, following a path they didn't choose to solve an obligation they don't even question anymore.